Boom.
Wow.
We're back.
Here we are.
Again.
After great success.
Yeah, the first
Well, the
one.
fear of failure followed by some success last time.
Are you watching us?
Yeah, that was us. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, this is where I pick up the comments.
Of course it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. So last time we made the minor error of starting early.
About 40 minutes too early.
Yeah, but we did get a load of people in the chat.
That's what happens.
However, we've got currently Jonas. Hello, Jonas. Hello, Pia.
How you doing?
Venox, Simon, and Venox again. Hello, everyone.
How's he there twice?
Pardon?
How's he there
Well,
twice?
they've just left 2 comments.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. So just saying hello to the viewing several. As we are.
As we do.
Yeah.
Cool.
So the reason we're here is we've decided to start doing this every other Thursday, which is the days we shoot our other shows.
It is. Yeah, we're kind of here anyway doing similar stuff. So we thought when we finish, it's easy enough just to do another one of
Just
these.
to
right?
hang out,
Yeah.
do a bit of a chat.
However, today, time did kind of disappear on us.
It ran away with us a little, didn't it?
It was, we had plenty of time and somehow it all just disappeared.
It's a hot sunny day.
That didn't help.
We found ourselves in a beer garden
That didn't help.
or 2.
That also didn't help.
Yeah. And
Yep.
all of a sudden we had to come home and shoot some shits.
Yeah.
And and now here we are.
Here we are. Anyway, it's working, I think. The stream
It
appears
is.
to be working. Everyone's here.
Yeah.
You're here. I'm here.
You're here.
Think
I'm
I am.
here.
I think I am.
Yeah.
I was going to give people a little early heads up of what reviews we've got coming soon.
Yeah.
Because people don't generally know until they just boom, they're out. So this weekend, I think we're going to take a look at the Nugent Audio Paragon Reverb,
Ah,
which is
a bargain, I've heard.
a little bit pricey, that one. Music Hacks Fuel. Someone in the comments
Give me
wanted
fuel,
to
give
have a
me
look.
fire, give me that which I desire.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also got the Mixland 280 Pre,
Mm-hmm.
which is an interesting bit of hardware you can still see knocking around on Reverb and eBay, but I'm guessing that might come to an end soon now that everyone knows it's a bit of a thing. The Matthew Lane TMO, Multiband Dynamics.
TMO.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was the one with the sliders that looked like they were from Hi-Fi.
they do look like a graphic equalizer of a 1980s hi-fi,
Yeah.
when you're setting up the sidechain. It's got a very cool, clever way of setting up a sidechain that can be... There's 3 different sidechains that can trigger any or all of the bands in any combination. It's pretty mad. So that's worth a look. So that one's coming up soon. And then obviously the Plugin Alliance Brainworks Hum Audio Lal, their look ahead analog limiter in digital form, which is a slightly weird concept in itself. But yeah, we've got that one probably coming this weekend, I should
Have
think.
we?
Yeah, I think that one we might have to put out
Well, because it's
tomorrow.
It's a freshie.
It's a fresh one. Yeah, they just dropped it in the last sort of 24 hours, so I think we have to get that one out sharpish.
Sharpish.
But yeah, that's what's coming up in the next few weeks on the Is It Shit reviews.
Very, very exciting.
Yeah.
And so what's the main difference between the regular Is It Shits? Oh, you're
Yes.
putting your feet up. That's a great
Well, you know,
idea.
it's been a long
The
day.
regular Is It Shits and what we're doing here, the streams.
Well, the difference is that they're very specifically us reviewing a
Yeah.
plugin. Generally, I spend a day reviewing, going through plugins on my own, testing them out,
Yeah.
recording now the tests so that people can see what I do with them. And then we get together once every couple of weeks and we record the show. And it's a very specific, you ask me questions, I tell you what I know.
Yeah.
We talk about how long the demo is, how much it costs.
Yeah.
Done.
It's a pretty strict structure, isn't it?
It has to be
Yeah.
in order for it to work.
Yeah, in order to keep me under control.
Well, that too. Yeah.
But one of the great differences is with the streams,
Yes.
we get the opportunity to interact
We
with,
do. That was really fun last time. We got some really cool
with the
questions.
viewing several,
Yeah.
don't we?
So ask us anything, literally anything. I've
Yeah.
got a question already that came in the trailer. Someone left a comment on the trailer for this. And the question was, how do you quickly and easily calibrate your studio? I presume you mean like your control room, your acoustics. How do you make sure that it's telling you the truth and that you've built it right? And probably I would say start calibrating it before you finish building it. It will give you a better clue of what kind of traps you need, where you need your damping and all that kind of stuff. But there's a bunch of different kinds of software that will do it. But there's a free one. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's REW or REW. I don't know how you're supposed to say it, but REW. It's a free download. I was checking it out earlier. It's really good. I've been using it for years, and basically it gives you a bunch of sweeps which you play through your monitors, and pink noise, white noise, all kinds of.
Oh, you were playing with that before we came on air.
Analytical sounds, so you can play different frequencies, sub frequencies, pink noise in only the sub, or whatever you need to play out, and then you set up a reference mic in your listening position and feed it back into it, and it draws you a plot of your room. And there's various different ways you could do that, and different weighting, so you can see how your room's coping with the audio that's being pumped into it, and then adjust accordingly.
Your room copes pretty badly because the audio that's pumped into it's pretty shit. Right?
Thanks very much. Well, do you know what? I calibrated this before there was anything in here, really, and the only thing I had to change once I built it, I just had to move where my desk was slightly by about that much. It was a very small amount, but that fixed the only issue I had. There was a slight node just behind the listening position. So if I was leaning back in my chair, I was getting quite a lot of, I don't know, I guess it was 80 to 90 hertz kind of thing, which has gone. So yeah, it can be a very small adjustment, or sometimes you get unlucky and it's a big adjustment, but that's how you do it, and it's free. You just need a reference mic. You can try and use any mic, to be honest, but it needs to be something that's got a very good frequency response. If you haven't got like what's known as a reference mic, try a few different ones and just see how they compare. But yeah, that's basically how you do it.
Well, I mean, I don't reference my studio, but that is how you do it. There's lots of information on YouTube about how you can do this.
There's loads, yeah. There's websites all about it, yeah. Just go and have a Google and you'll find out.
Yeah. So, should we move to the forum?
Yes.
First of all, Tommy Peters has tuned in.
Your bro.
My brother. He's possibly... What's up, Tom? Possibly our biggest fan, I think.
I used to seen Tom in ages.
No. Well, he's a busy man. He's a busy man.
Fair enough.
Inbred.
Inbred.
So, hello, Gorf. Hello. So, we have been asked, maybe more of a mastering question, but how do you guys feel about mastering a track that's been really well mixed, but is really weird?
Really weird?
Yes, I think Chad Blake and Sean Everett, neither of whom I've ever heard of.
No, I don't know either of those references. I mean, I would say I get sent some stuff to master that's really weird quite regularly. It's not all pop and mainstream by a long shot. You get some right weird stuff. I would say it sort of doesn't matter what it is. It depends where it's going. If it's going to a format that you understand, then it's the same job it always is, generally, I would say. It's make it sound its best, make sure there's nothing in it that is going to freak out a PA system or sound rubbish in a car, or, make your speakers fart in any way or too toppy in it. It's the same job, really. Kind of doesn't matter what it is.
I think, especially with the mastering that you do, it's sympathetic to the genre that you're mastering.
Yeah, sometimes you need to slam something.
Yeah.
Dan will send me one of his tracks and say, bump it, pump it, send it back.
Yeah.
He basically wants it as loud as it'll go.
Sean, this isn't loud enough.
Yeah.
Make everything louder.
The bottom end to be tight and not causing issues. And then send it back. And a lot of people want that. DJs want that. Dance producers want that. But lots of other people don't want that.
No.
And you have to
They want some subtlety.
Subtlety. Yeah. Or they just want a second pair of ears a lot of the time. Have I got the top end completely wrong? And sometimes they have, and sometimes it's just these little nudge to put it back,
Yeah, little nudge to put it back. I'm still trying to decide. Adam S10 sub.
Yeah.
Or Hi-Fi Man Ira Organics.
Right.
ARYA.
Okay.
Your thoughts? Small room using Adam A7Vs, moving to a slightly bigger room later in the year. That's a good question. It's pretty detailed, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Adams, I was using Adams before I got the Dyne Audios. I quite liked them. I would say I never quite gelled with them 100%, but they're good monitors. If you get used to them, they're great. It depends what you mean by small. If it's small and untreated, it's going to be difficult no matter what you do. I would probably say work quietly or work on headphones alongside that. If it's small and treated, it doesn't matter too much as long as it's really well treated. The problem is the smaller the room.
I had a girlfriend like that.
The smaller the room, the higher percentage of the thickness of the treatment you need. You end up getting an even smaller room because of the amount of treatment you would need in it. But yeah, it shouldn't matter. A7Vs should be fine in a relatively small room, and then they'll be totally fine in a bigger room. Again, though, depends how big.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one to answer, to be honest. But they're decent monitors, and any monitors will sound decent in a decent room.
I think personally, what you haven't got to lose track on is you train your ears to the room that you're working in.
Yeah.
And so the bit where you're calibrating a studio or soundproofing a studio is the last, that's nth degree of sound. If you're working on near field monitors and you're using the classic, triangle.
Yeah. If you get yourself in that equilateral triangle with near fields, you can sometimes negate a little bit the room. Not completely, but certainly
not completely,
to an extent where you can do a certain level of work, definitely.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And then, of course, there's the iPhone check, and then there's the old car check.
Always. Yeah, always works. Listen to it on a pair of earbuds is always interesting. It reveals stuff that you just don't notice sometimes.
So here's an interesting point from Gorf. He says, they say, sometimes he overproduces a song and has to backtrack and cut things music and mixing wise. I can completely...
Goes too far.
Yeah.
Too deep.
Yeah, too much. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that's quite common. I think... I wouldn't say that I get myself in that position very often anymore, but quite often I'll open old mixes from a few years ago and I'll spend 10 minutes trying to get it working and sounding good again. And I think, no, just take everything off.
Yeah.
Remove all plugins, all outboard gone, start again. Because, you can go too far chasing a sound and, I just need to add one more EQ there and one more compressor there.
You said you did this with the post on one of our videos recently. You had
everything off.
Took everything off and you're like, oh my goodness, it sounds so good.
I was trying to get two, lapel mics to not sound phasey. It's really difficult when they're close to each other. Because obviously they are picking up each other's voices, and you get phase issues. And I had all kinds of plugins to deal with it, and it wasn't really working. And I just, in a moment of frustration, just deleted all the plugins, and instantly, when there was nothing on it, it sounded loads better. So there's a lesson there.
I mean, I go over the top with parts. That's the other thing. It's not just down to EQ and compression, as in dynamics and equalization.
Yep.
But often it's down to the parts that you've got in your track, especially working with electronic music and loops.
I mean, I'd say 100% of the mixes I do for people, I'm taking stuff out. All the time, do it to myself. I will finish a mix, be happy with it, think, right, I'm not going to listen to it for a month. If there's no really, urgent deadline, go back in a month and listen. I guarantee I'll just turn sections off.
Yeah.
That pad doesn't need to be there. That extra bass doesn't need to be there. Just strip it out. The least amount of instruments to get the song to work will sound way more powerful.
Yeah.
Way more.
Yeah. You're a master at that, actually. I'll give you that.
Listen to any hit song you like. Guarantee you, it will generally have a sparse production.
Yeah,
generally.
And the other one is, it's the Billie Jean story, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
that's a great case.
We did 50 mixes of Billie Jean, and mix 2 was
mix
the one.
Mix 2 was the one.
Yeah. Somebody said, question on the heat in that room right now.
Yes.
Is it shit?
Or
have you got a fancy aircon, which would lead me to believe
they can't hear it.
They can't hear the
Maybe.
aircon.
Yeah, we have got aircon. It is on. We were worried because you can hear it. It's not very loud, but obviously mics can sometimes accentuate it. But we thought, do you know what? We normally turn it off when we're recording the YouTube stuff, but it's so hot today. We've got the aircon on, and it's nice. It's cool in it.
We got some Illuminati dude, lo-fi. Oh, it's Lo-Fi Matt. Triangle with the Illuminati.
He wrote some interesting lyrics, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, he did, didn't he?
The camera's done its thing again.
Oh.
What is going on with that? Right, hold on. Why does it do that?
This is our new camera, which is controlled by hand gestures.
So you have to do that to get it to go into gesture mode.
Yeah.
Then you have to do this.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it's that or that. There we go. Oh, hold on.
Oh. There you go.
But it's just. But it's
Can you not lock it off?
Yeah, so you just do that again.
Yeah, but now there's more of that side of the studio than...
hang on, I'll move it. Why is it so on the wall?
I don't know.
How's that?
Got a fancy new camera anyway, people.
Yeah, but
I was told not to put my hands up, but I can't help myself. Make sure the eye is in the middle of the triangle. Yeah, okay. Have you guys had any trouble with hand, wrist or shoulder pain? No, but I have had a outburst of gout.
I don't think that's related to your studio. I mean, it could be.
Well, it's certainly related to my lifestyle in the music business.
It could be.
I mean, from spending long days in the studio masturbating. No, sorry, long days in the studio, of course. So,
oh dear.
So do you suffer with any hand, wrist, or... You do, you've got carpal tunnel, haven't you?
No. Where'd you get that from? No, never had anything like that.
What was that? You used to have the...
So I've got, was it this hand? It's this hand. I don't know how I've got it. I think it's from holding a mobile phone badly for a long time. You know, we all do that thing now where you balance a phone on your little finger. I think it's that. That's what the doctor thought. But yeah, I got this... I can't remember what it's called, but it's where you get a weird, funny lump on your palm and your fingers start to curl over. I've been exercising it ever since they told me I had it, and it's pretty much gone. So,
that's it?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, which is good because they said it would never go, but it has pretty much gone. Yeah. The only other thing I ever had like that was years ago.
When you were playing tennis?
No.
Anyone from
I
mixed
used
doubles?
to get almost like a callus on that bit of my hand from using the mouse and just dragging that bit of my hand all over the desk. It went really weird for a bit. I don't know what happened. I think I just changed the way I held the mouse. But no, that's it.
Okay.
I get a bit of a sore back sometimes from sitting down all day.
Yeah.
But I'm quite
a few
good.
Headaches from dehydration. Other than that,
that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I advocate regular breaks all the time. Cups of tea, cups of coffee. Get out. Don't spend too long in a
Don't spend too long working.
Like don't spend too long working. It's good advice.
Yeah. Interesting question here from A. Burke.
Yep.
I'd love to hear your take on handling stereo information in bass for club-orientated music. Do you have a professional rule or technical threshold? Any exceptions where you allow stereo width in the low end?
So this comes up a lot at the moment.
Yeah.
So everybody, I blame Brainworks. Everybody started monoing the bass. That wasn't a thing before a few years ago. I think mastering engineers, before it was a thing on plugins, I think Brainworks started putting the mono maker on. But before that, you'd go to a mastering studio and your mastering engineer might have something called an elliptical EQ, which was basically that. It allowed you to mono things at certain frequencies, below for certain frequencies. And it was a fix for problems. I used to send a lot of my stuff to Tim Young years ago, fantastic mastering engineer. And I sent him a mix once I'd done on an SSL that was a bit knackered, and the bass, everything at the low end, we noticed after the mix was done, the bass was slightly lopsided. And I spoke to Tim on the phone. I said, I'm going to need you to try and fix it. I don't really want to do the mix again. And he said, yeah, no worries. And he just monoed the bass, which fixed it. But do I think it's something you should do on club music or dance music? Obviously, the argument is that the driving force of dance music is the kick and the bass down the bottom. There's no need for them to be stereo. That's always the argument. I would counter that with some of the best sounding basses I've ever heard have been very stereo.
Well, but not the bass end. The top end of the bass has been stereo.
No, sometimes people go too far. I think there's a lot of really interesting stuff if you could widen out and look at Basslane Pro, the plugin. If you can widen out that bit down there just above, let's say 100 hertz, 90 hertz, somewhere around there, start to put in a little bit of width as you go above that. It can really do amazing things. I totally get that in a club situation, if you've got one PA stack there and one over there, you don't want all the crowd over there not hearing the whole mix.
Well,
that makes sense.
Historically, as a clubber, a lot of PA systems, rave PA systems and early club PA systems were mono anyway.
Yeah, for that reason.
Yeah, so nobody gave a shit whether your mix was in stereo and how wide everything was.
No, it was the opposite. It was the wide stuff. A lot of it would disappear.
I know that your man, who's the French dude, French EDM DJ?
It's quite vague.
Yeah.
Don't know.
But he still advocates everything below 130 being mono. I can see it. I can see it because I think the width on your bass comes from the mid and the tops.
Quite often,
you know. Anyway, so yeah, that's what we're thinking about information on sub bass being in mono.
Track dependent and artist dependent. You know, they will tell you quite often whether they want that done, and they might have already done it in the mix these days. Plugins that do that are so prevalent, they've probably already done it.
CMAG asks, after 40 years, you start to lose the ability to hear sort of different frequencies.
Yeah.
Have you guys done a test recently?
Yes.
I'm older than you, but I no longer hear above 13k, and I was surprised.
Yeah.
Try a test.
We did it in here, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago?
Did we?
We did, do you remember? I ran a sweep and we would say when you could hear.
Yeah.
We did it. But I have my ears professionally cleaned every now and again, just because I have to hear, obviously. And you do have a hearing test as part of that process, if you ask for it, I suppose. So I know where mine cuts off, and it's a bit higher than that, but it's not a lot. I can hear sort of 15 consistently. Once you go to 16, it's gone. I can't hear 16. I can hear 15, 14 sounds significantly louder, 13 louder still. So, you know, it's on a slope, obviously, but that's normal. Once you get above sort of 25, you can't really hear.
I've got friends
above
that can
17,
hear
18.
800, 1K all the time.
Yeah, see, that's worse.
That's
no one
what you don't want.
Tinnitus. No, I'm lucky I don't get it.
Yeah, no, my hearing's always been pretty good, yeah. I don't have tinnitus. I'm fortunate because I used to work in a studio and I used to, making dance music, I used to work really loud.
Yeah, I used to.
But their monitors were phenomenal.
That makes a difference.
Yeah, so if you get, imagine a way, I mean, I always imagine this, this is a thing about, I actually had an argument with TC, Top Cat, the drum and bass producer, online about this. And you're not headlining unless you're redlining. Is a sort of a dance music.
I get that.
You know, and it's like, but if you're redlining, you're just distorting the output, which is what makes people's ears ring.
It does, yeah.
You know, because when you get distortion is when, if you think about a sine wave, is when it does that.
Yeah.
And those jaggly lines, the bits that damage your ears.
Yeah, of course.
If you've got a really well gained system,
100% smooth.
You know, you can have it as loud as you like.
Yep.
It's not going to damage your hearing.
Shouldn't do. No. A lot less likely to, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously I got lots of love on the TC drum and bass chat forum for bringing that up.
You would.
So, Sean, do you think when this is Victor Nova? Do you think when a song is remastered?
Yeah.
So like a lot of the old recordings are, it improves or takes away from its originality?
Wow. Okay, so I guess remasters. That's a really difficult one. I'd like to hear the original masters. If I'm listening to Abbey Road or the White Album or something, the original masters are how the guys at the time decided it should sound, and that should be the definitive version in my head. But I totally understand that when there's a new format available with maybe extended sort of frequency response, like when they went from vinyl to CD, you can totally understand why they decided to remaster it. I think the danger is that someone who doesn't necessarily, you know, have the sympathetic ear of the original artist masters it. Yeah, you might lose what they were going for.
I will take this on the next step, and that's the Dolby Atmos remix.
Yeah.
On iTunes, and I can remember specifically listening to Faster Love, George Michael.
Oh, Fast Love, yeah.
Fast Love.
Yeah.
Great tune.
Yeah.
Really nice mix.
Yep.
You listen to that on Dolby Atmos.
Yeah.
And you've got all this sort of stuff, but you know what? You can hear all of the stuff that you don't want to hear.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't sound like a glued mix.
Yeah, that's such a touchy subject for me. I'm not an Atmos fan, as you know. Never have been. You know, experimented with it, worked in Atmos studio, tried it out. Listened to some really good Atmos mixes done by other people, which I very much appreciated and totally enjoyed. I just the market for it's run backwards. The labels want it because Apple says you have to have it in order to get on a curated playlist. Blah blah.
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, we've both had to jump through those hoops, haven't we?
Yeah, you know, a big album I mixed recently and mastered. We had to facilitate getting Dolby mixes done.
Yeah.
because we had
Shout
to do
out
it.
to Warren. He loves a bit of Dolby.
How you doing, Warren?
Yeah, that's what he does.
But yeah, you know, I hired this guy. He did an amazing job, and he did exactly what I asked him. Like, when I listen to it, I want it to sound the same as the stereo mix. I don't want it to be doing any weird stuff. I don't want anything moving that isn't moving in the mix. Just do it the same. But yeah, feel free to push it around a bit. But I want it to sound the same.
Okay, there you go. We're not big Dolby fans, are we? Atmos fans.
I just think it's the, you know, it's the cart driving the donkey or whatever they call it. Do you know what I mean? It's the wrong way around the way that market works. And is, you know, the people doing it aren't earning hardly any money. There's no money set aside for Dolby Atmos mixes. You get paid almost nothing for doing them. I don't get it.
So here's one from Yuri Bulikov. He says, "Hey guys."
Hey Yuri.
Hey Yuri. How would you describe the British sound in production?
Ooh.
Do you think there's a recognisable aesthetic that distinguishes the British approach to mixing and mastering?
Wow.
Yeah. Good question.
It's a really good question.
Don't know.
I would say there definitely was.
Yeah.
I would say that, you know, that British sound that came out of the 60s and possibly the 70s was very unique. I mean, if you think about it, if you're talking about production sound rather than band sound, you know, as in influences musically, as in, if we're talking about production wise, then you've got to take into account that the Neve desk British, the EVQ British, Trident desk British, SSL desk British. There was a lot of British hardware being used in studios throughout the 60s, 70s and 80s. That's not to say there wasn't loads of other good stuff made elsewhere. I love API desks, obviously American desks. But there was a lot of big records made on British gear, and where the EQ points were and the style of compression, I think it did give it a sound. Whether that is still a thing, I think maybe in the trap universe, I think UK hip-hop and US hip-hop, night and day. And we definitely have our own sound for that. I don't know whether that's gear or choice of samples and stuff. It's a different thing now.
I think, you know, and if I might...
You might.
You know.
What?
If, well, you know, I think the British have set a lot of, you know, with the George Martins and the Beatles, moving on to the Zeppelins, and, you know, I think we've set the sort of gold standard, the mark, for how recordings might want to sound.
I agree, but I think, you know, the Americans might want to argue with you that, you know, the same time that was happening, Brian Wilson was doing some incredible stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jimi Hendrix was doing some American, British.
Jimi Hendrix was, but he was an American, but he worked in England.
Yeah.
Because his manager was...
But I think it's an equal split, really. There's you know, obviously all the UA stuff, the 76s, the LA, all American. It's an equal split, really.
Yeah.
It's an equal split.
Big up Gorf. Hope you get better soon. He's saying his hand's been messed up because he's been having some chemo recently. So,
oh mate,
get well.
Right. Yeah,
hope
get well soon,
man. The Snakes of Russia does stereo bass because he's the GOAT of 2023, the god of all things, the god of all things stereo.
Fair enough. Not going to argue.
So let's see what else we got. I'd really like to see a video of you guys mixing or just little bits of it. Just listening to you, I learned quite a lot. Watching you mix would be next level, I guess. So, that's from Pierre Mertens. So, Sean.
If only there was a course online.
If only.
If only there was a video course where you could actually watch me mix a song from beginning to end. There is. Go to the website. All the links are down under here somewhere. Yeah, go and have a look. It's pretty good value, I think. It's a really decent long video. It shows you, it's broken up into chapters, a whole mix beginning to end. You totally see how I do it. So that's probably the best bet, because otherwise setting up a camera and trying to record yourself mixing is quite hard. And also the problem with it, putting any of that on YouTube, is that the second whatever that is I'm working on gets released, we get a copyright strike and it gets taken down. So it's really hard to do it otherwise.
But do go and look at the videos. They get reduced sometimes.
Yeah, well, they're pretty cheap at the minute. I think the mixing one's 40 quid, the mastering one's 50 quid.
Bargain.
Yeah.
Bargain. So, Justin Array is asking, hooray, Justin, have you ever listened to music on an old stereo from the 70s and thought it just sounded great?
Yes. 100%. I'm gutted that kids these days don't have stereo systems, hi-fis. They have a Bluetooth speaker, which they generally don't even use those very much. They listen to music on their phones, and it's like, we were so lucky. We had, you might get your dad's old hi-fi in your bedroom if you were lucky. You'd get a second-hand, massive set of speakers, great old amp, plug in your vinyl, whatever. It was a lucky time, I think, to be able to get into music.
I think about, especially that there was a middle-of-the-road kind of late 70s, they're talking about smooth sound.
Yeah.
And I think about albums like Rumours, Fleetwood Mac, the Carpenters.
Some of that stuff just sounds like buttery smooth, doesn't it? It's got, and it's the
Eagles,
top end.
some of their stuff. Yeah, it's the top end.
It's working on tape. The top end has got that really nice roll off. Working with valves and transformers. I mean, it's very cliched, but all that stuff together, combined with chasing the noise, trying to keep the noise down, you end up with that incredibly smooth top end.
Just all glues together.
Yeah, it's quite hard to do it these days.
A planet person is asking, which techniques are more producer than mix engineer? And this is a question we used to get asked a lot at the university.
Which techniques are more producer than mix?
So what's the difference essentially between a producer and an engineer? And we talk about this quite a lot because over the years these lines have blurred a little bit.
Well, this is an interesting subject.
Yes.
So when I started in studios, it was 1990 when I first worked in a professional studio, and I was the tape op. My job was to align the tape machine, get the 2-inch tape machine ready to record or mix whatever we were doing. You'd have a set of tones and a special tool to align all the meters and everything else, and then I sat with the remote control on this weird little trolley, and the producer would say, right, we're going in on the first verse and we're going to record a vocal. So that would be my job: get the tape to the first verse, arm that track, press record, press play, rewind, all of that. That's a tape op, as well as setting up all the mics, helping the band set their gear up, get all the mics in the right place, zero the desk, and then watch everything the engineer does. So let's see how many people would have been in the studio in those days. So there would have been me, a tape op. There would have been an assistant engineer who will help the engineer, basically watch what they do, patch things in, do the patch bay, maybe help me mic things up. Then there's the engineer. He's literally just operating the mixing desk and the outboard stuff. Then there's the producer, probably sat next to the engineer, but might be sat on the sofa, telling the engineer what he wants him to do. He would describe a sound, the engineer would then do whatever technical thing was necessary to get that sound. And then there might be the band in there too. You might also have a programmer, if there's any synths or samples, their job to run all that stuff. If there's any kind of orchestra or instruments that aren't part of the band, you might have an arranger. It's like the room was full. Old-fashioned control rooms were big because they needed to be for all the people. And over the years, it's like, I think the programmer was the first one to go.
Yeah.
The arranger's probably still around for certain kinds of music. Engineer and producer just went, well, that's one person now. You better do both. Assistant went, and now when I go and work in a big studio, on the rare occasions I do, there'll be me and I'll be given an assistant. And between us, we pretty much do everything. And that's just how it's all changed.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about what jobs does the producer do compared to the engineer, I would say in this day and age, a producer will probably work in their little studio. It might not be acoustically very good, but he'll have all the gear he needs. He'll get the song ready, he'll generate a whole bunch of stems, it's ready, it just needs a mix. He'll then either send it to me, is most likely, or maybe bring it to me and sit with me. We'll load it into my system. I'll use my plugins, my hardware to get it to sound the best it can sound. And it's basically taking something which is, it's not a demo, it's the actual thing, but it's just not polished yet. The compression's not right, it's not been EQ'd right, the effects on the vocal aren't done properly. It can all be better. That then becomes the mix engineer's job. And the producer, who might have originally put it together, will sit there and say, oh no, I like that, more of this, less of that. That's kind of how that works.
In the olden days, a producer's job, he used to be the liaison with the record company.
Yeah.
So it would be his job to manage the budget, pick
100%.
the studio, manage the musicians, employ the musicians if it was a solo artist, book the sessions, book the engineer, book the arranger. That would be the producer's job. Quincy Jones is a great example of that that kind of...
But it used to be big agencies. I used to work for one. You to get job as a sound engineer when I was in my 20s, you had an agency who would give you the work, and they would feed work to different engineers all over the place.
Okay, so back to the questions. Victor.
All right, Victor.
I have a pair of monitors that have a peak at 8K.
Okay.
No, 8K.
Yeah, 8.
Would it be better to EQ it back down with an EQ plug-in on the master or an external hardware EQ?
I wouldn't do it at all. I think if you start EQing your monitors in any way, shape or form, and that includes, people are now using some very complicated hardware to EQ their monitors to sound better in their room. I just don't believe in that. That's never worked.
You're not going to like this. I don't think the link's working on you.
Not again.
Yeah, 404 error.
Really?
Yeah, it sounds.
I'm going to test that myself.
He's going to test the link to the mixing course right now.
I am. It might not be. I'm having website problems.
We are having some IT issues at MIXDOWN HQ. It has to be said. People, we're having a look right now.
Hold on. Let me check. Okay, let's click on it, and you're right.
You are right. Oh my goodness.
Well, that's not good.
It's not good.
I'll get straight on that as soon as we're done with this.
Thank you for letting us know, people.
That worked this morning. I was literally testing it this morning. Anyway, whatever.
I'm not saying...
Oh, I know why. I think I know why. It's when I copy and paste all those details, it cuts off. It abbreviates the links.
Oh. Well, that's not good.
No, it's not good. So that means none of those links will work. Hang on, let's try another one. Link to anything. No. Oh, no, that one's working. Okay. Some of them work, some of them don't.
So, well, we're nearly halfway through. Well, we're over halfway through. Shall we do the listening test?
Yeah. Okay, so we thought we'd do another little blind test with you guys. This is an interesting one. I've had a bunch of discussions recently with people about using plugins for box tone, as in running signal through it just to get a vibe of that plugin. Because people do that with hardware, and I wouldn't say there's an argument, but there's certainly debate about whether plugins do that. So just to make it a little bit more interesting, I took a bunch of plugins that I use regularly, and I didn't leave them completely flat. I did a bit. So maybe if it's an EQ, I just boost a bit of top, bit of bottom. If it's a compressor, I just nudge it on so it's just doing a bit. And basically, we'll show you this. It's a whole bunch of plugins you'll recognise, running the same track through them. You'll see them first of all, what they're doing, and then the blind test will start. You just got to guess which is which. And it's interesting because we've got EQs going up against compressors. So you should be able to tell easily, but they're literally just being tickled enough to get a little bit of something.
Just tickled enough to get a bit of response.
Yeah, I put them all through Plugin Doctor, so I checked they are all generating some harmonics. Anyway, let's have a look. Here it comes. Put in the comments what you think is what once the blind test bit starts. So we've got the vintage warmer. Everyone knows that one. Classic unit. You can see from the needles it's not doing much at all, but it is doing something. Next up we have got the AMEC 250. Again, if you look at the settings, they're not doing much, but they're doing a little bit, just enough so that we get a little bit of something out of it. And obviously the THD is on. Then we've got the noise ash, what's this, the 533. Again, just very, very light touch settings. Pushed up the trim, again, just to generate a few more harmonics. There we've got the Pulsar 8200. Again, you can see the setting, it's not going nuts, it's just a little bit. Tried to make sure nothing's red lighting. And then we've got their Safari Pedals Sunbed, which again is doing a very tiny little bit of compression. It's got a little bit of the saturation. Here we go, this is the blind test, we're ready to it. And we're back.
Party time. We just had a little bit of a rave here in MIXDOWN HQ. Pretty exhausted after that.
Yeah, full on.
Yeah, I need a kebab and lie down now.
Just a normal Thursday then. So that'd be interesting to see if anyone could hear any difference. I level matched them best I could. Can you hear the compressors compared to the EQs? Was it doing anything at all when you flip from one to the next? Be really interested to know. Let us know if you heard anything when I flip from one to the next to the next.
There's two. Two sounds great.
Interesting.
Yeah, two has the vibe on the apple in ears, Tommy's saying. Tommy Peters. Victor Nova, two sounds great. Justin Array, two. I'm intrigued now. What's two?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to play the results video to remember what two
Sean's
is.
done a separate results video.
I have.
Excellent stuff. Does that mean we get more time off?
It's not long, but yeah. We'll go straight into it. Let's see what was what.
I'm interested to see
Here
what three was.
Here we go. This is the results then. So number one is the Need. Number two, Vintage Warmer Classic. Of course it is. Number three is the Sun Bear. Number four, the Pulsar 8200. And number five is the AMET 250.
Everybody's
Vintage Warmer does it again.
Vintage Warmer, aren't they?
Classic. That's
Sean's
really funny.
favourite plugin of all time.
That's hilarious that plugin just keeps slaying.
Coming back. Slaying again.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
It is,
and it was barely doing anything. You saw the needle was like, it's just running through it.
Yeah, Logic 5, Vintage Warmer.
That's all you
need.
Those
were the days.
Those were the days. That's really
so, moving on from our fantabulous listening test. What's your favourite SSL G-Bus emulation? These are very particular questions. I'm glad I'm not being asked.
They are. From a plug-in point of view, that's really tricky. I use the SSL bus compressor because I use the hardware that goes with it, and that does fine. However, I do use for those duties generally most of the time when I'm mixing a piece of hardware, which is the the IGS S-Type 500 series. That to me sounds exactly like it, just a bit sweeter, it's a bit nicer. But I think if I was going to buy another one, I've always loved the Allen Smart. That's a really good one. You can pick up a real one relatively cheap these days. Plug-in wise, there's a whole bunch of them I think which sound close. The Townhouse by Plug-in Alliance, I know it's not a G-Bus compressor as such, but it's close and it sounds really nice, so I'd have a look at that.
Excellent stuff, thank you, Sean. So somebody's saying we need to check out the Hum Audio Limiter from Plug-in Alliance.
Funnily enough, that is coming tomorrow to Is It Shit.
Have we already checked it out?
Yeah, we did it today.
Did we?
Yeah, where's your memory?
Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, could tell.
It's not my memory, it's my interest.
Yeah, we reviewed it today. It'll be out tomorrow.
I couldn't find mini glow sticks for the rave. For the.
That's not a bad shout, is it?
No, maybe we should send them out.
Maybe we should.
CMAG, I never heard any difference, but then I've just been telling you about my shit ears. That's that's a very good point.
The other thing to always bear in mind with these things, you'll always get some big producer telling you that their magic box is this and that's why all their stuff has their sound. Can you hear that? A lot of the time, punters have no clue what you're talking about.
Well, I'll tell you the way I sort of perceive this stuff is that, you multi-track things.
Yes.
Okay, so if you make 5% difference on each track with the choice of the right plug-in, 100%. Then the overall outcome of the mix is going to mean that it is X% better.
I think there's some truth in that. Yeah, I think it's the same argument about if you get a cheap mic pre and you test it. Let's say you buy a Behringer mic pre, you plug in your decent mic to it and you listen to it, you go, do you know what, that sounds all right. Doesn't sound terrible. Doesn't sound wildly different to a preamp that costs $1,000. However, if you're plugging in 24 mics,
there you go, it's going to sound 24 times as different.
At that point you start to realise why expensive preamps are worth the money.
In the analog
you're
world,
multiplying it.
That's before you've come to summing.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of exactly. Yeah, incremental improvements all add up, and then people wonder why does that sound good? It's not one thing, it's like 50 things you've already done.
Out of it, so somebody's asking about PSP and prices.
Ah, yes.
Did they do say it was PSP?
I don't know. They don't make a big song and dance about it. Their prices are generally relatively high. However, I would say their stuff, you know, the Vintage Warmer's a case in point. That thing has been around. I think it was the very first plug-in I ever reviewed in the press when I was writing for the magazines 25 years ago, I think it was now.
Yeah.
In 98 or 99 I reviewed Vintage Warmer, and it's like, it still sounds great. And a lot of their plugins I've been using for years, and nothing has come along that is better, so I would say they're worth the money.
Yeah, well, that Vintage Warmer has just been... It's a Vintage Warmer 2 now, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So, somebody, Venox, is saying Audio Animals did a comparison of the hardware.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what they're talking about?
I was literally talking about that in our review.
You were, yeah, sorry. No, I remember now.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Been a long day.
It does sound good. It has been a long day, yeah. Somebody's asking who's my favourite DJ, Dan.
Ooh, who's your favourite DJ, Dan? Are you your favourite DJ?
Yeah.
Of course you are.
Yeah. I'll pick my favourite tunes.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's either me.
Yeah.
Or yeah, no, it's me. It is me. Yeah.
There's.
So Dan, what was my first rave? Mine was Quest in Wolverhampton in 1991. Wow. Well, Mr. Brown Alliance, in 1991 I was 11.
No, you weren't.
I was.
Was you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you was. That's bad. I was.
Yeah.
18.
I
was 18.
We did Dreamscape. We used to go to a place called Crazy Daisies up near Coventry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's scary. I was literally going to raves in 91.
No, yeah. Vision Streetwear, baggy t-shirts and
yeah,
jeans.
I started work in 1990, so yeah, 91 I was 18.
Goodness me, I haven't started work yet.
No, you haven't.
No.
You've done quite well to avoid it.
I'm building up to it. I'm thinking at any day now.
Yeah.
See you, Gorf. What do we think about the plug-in market oversaturation? Go on, there's a joke there.
Many times we've made
that joke. Yeah.
I don't know what you can say. People keep buying them, so they keep making them. I think the market would survive on updates alone. I think the amount of times they're going to have to keep updating those plugins. I think people don't think about that. When you buy a plugin, it's just not how good it is. It's also about, are they around to update it to work on the latest operating systems in 5 years?
You see, you've opened it. You've cracked a tin of worms there.
Yeah, but yes, it's oversaturated. Yes, there's too many plugins.
Yeah.
But yes, we still get excited when a new one comes out.
Yeah. Because
is what it is.
Because we've got a YouTube channel that
well, that's what we do.
Yeah.
That's literally why we do it. Yeah.
If we didn't have a YouTube channel that reviewed them, we wouldn't be excited about it.
Well, it's quite interesting that when we started this channel 3.5 years ago, we thought we'll run out.
Yeah.
You know, we'll get to a point where
we did. Yeah. Surely they can't release another compressor.
Never happens. It's
Turns out.
Always new plugins every week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you guys, hey guys, hi guys, were to use only one plugin brand to master, I know exactly what it would be. What would it be? Tone boosters.
I definitely could.
Yeah,
I definitely could.
You could, I think.
Yeah.
You could mix and master.
Yeah.
An amazing record using just tone boosters plugins.
I could happily, well, not happily, but I could certainly master using just included plugins that come native with your DAW.
Yeah.
Maybe not to the same level, but certainly good enough that no one would notice.
I could master them to your level with just using native plugins.
I think PSP maybe is one of the others. They do really good limiter, really good multiband, really good EQs. The Vintage Warmer, you're kind of set.
Oh, here's a tough one for you from Erin Drury.
Go on.
What's your favourite plugin of 2025 so far?
Whoa. Damn, that's hard. I'm going to look at the plugins we've looked at.
Well, I'm gonna correct Offimat. So together, Dan and Sean equals 123 years.
Could be.
Yeah, that is about 46.
We're not that old.
I'm only 23.
You get younger every time you tell someone how old you are. Favourite plugin of the year. Flipping hell, that's quite hard.
Dreamscape, J. Levesy, yeah.
I'm looking. Hang on.
What about worst plugin that you've wasted your money on? Worst of all time.
Oh. Worst plugin I've wasted my money on. There's probably quite a lot. Not because there's anything wrong with them, but I just end up using the same ones. So a lot of new stuff, which is, there's nothing wrong with it, I just end up not using it. Flipping hell. This is really difficult. I genuinely don't think I could say. It would probably be one of the tone boosters, which haven't come out in 2025. I've only just discovered them in 2025. I very much like the Vertigo thing that came out a while ago, Plugin Alliance thing.
Somebody's saying worst plugin is the Eventide Black Hole.
I mean, there's...
I don't know that.
I would probably say any of those mixhead, SPL mixhead things. There's a couple of them. I'm not impressed with any of them.
Venux is saying, love the TB Compressor 4, got it after one of your reviews.
Yes, awesome. I mean, it was literally one of those times when I was testing it and going, I can't believe how good this is.
Well, that's happened with all of their plugs, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's shocking.
What about what's the Neutron 5 phase? Do you know that? Stupid Videos has asked us about the Neutron 5 phase.
Neutron 5, I don't know.
No, I don't know anything about that.
No, we'd have to have a look. Someone said about the tone boosters the other day, someone made a comment and said that we were deaf and that actually it's full of aliasing and phasing, and it's like, no, I think that's someone who's got the they've spent too much money on something else. But you know, you can do all the tests you want. There's nothing wrong with those plugins.
Jared Oldman.
Yeah.
Have you heard of a door called Luna?
Yes, the Apollo thing. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I've used it briefly. Yeah.
Well, that says a lot.
Yeah, it's part of the whole oh god, what are they called? UA stuff.
Is it?
Yeah, who make, you know, the Apollo sound cards and all that. Luna's designed to work with them.
Okay.
And I used it. I'll tell you where I used it, at the uni in their studio, because you can use it and you can run. Basically, you can run a bunch of plugins on the hardware, run them live on live inputs when you're recording bands, and Luna lets you do that in quite an intuitive way.
Okay, that's interesting then. Jared, tell us what you know about Luna. Follow up from your comment.
Yeah, I didn't think many people were using it, but you know, I've seen it and used it, but I don't know. Never see it around generally.
Mr. Brown Alliance, it was me who suggested tone boosters on your channel.
Well done.
Well done, Mr. Brown.
Smashed it.
Knees up, Mother Brown. Knees up, Mother Brown.
He's been around a long time. I've seen his comments for a long time. Yeah. Appreciate that. Thank you.
No, we do. We genuinely appreciate all of our followers.
We do.
The tone booster stuff is shockingly good. I went to my last rave last year. Well, I still go to raves. I went to drum sheds.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like flat-packed rave culture, because it was an IKEA, wasn't it?
It did used to be IKEA, yeah.
And it's all good fun until it starts to get towards the end. And then you think, oh, I'm a bit...
Yeah, how'd you get out?
How'd you get out? And then you get out and you think, God, I'm old, and look at all these young people.
Yeah.
I just want to get an Uber home, and these people are all going to the train station because they can't afford to pay for an Uber, you know.
Yep.
And it was that was my last rave, drum sheds, Camel Fat.
Damn, I can't think of anything worse in this day and age. I just don't fancy it anymore. It's not my bag. I did see videos of that event, and I just thought, ceiling's really low. That's all I kept thinking.
Well, the drum sheds, the main ceiling's massive and high, and they've got these two scaff towers that the audience can stand on.
Yep.
We went up on them. Oh, I've done it again, sorry.
How are you doing this stuff then?
Yeah, it's me moving my hands.
So we have to do this business.
We have to do it again. Yeah, so we went up on these scaff tower things.
And then we have to do this business.
And
come on.
I just thought, you know, this could collapse. This could be one of those horror videos that they're watching.
What, you're going to collapse the...
Yeah.
Why is this?
I think that's done.
No, it's blue. It's got to turn green, that light.
Ooh.
Now it's following me around.
Yeah. It's turned blue. Has it got to turn green?
Yeah.
Oh, well. What mics are we talking into?
These are Austrian Audio OC18s, I think. Which are... I've got to try this again. Yeah, right. Now I can move it.
Now they can see me with my feet up.
The end of the
They're Austrian audio.
OC18s, I think they're called. I've also got the 818, which is a beautiful mic with 2 diaphragms, and you can run 2 XLR cables out of it, and you can basically change the pickup pattern after you've recorded, which is amazing. But yeah, these have been great. We've been using these for a while now, haven't we?
We have, yeah.
They're good.
Yeah, they're brilliant. My voice is too loud, and I regularly put mine in front of my face. But other than that,
yep. Yeah, I've pulled the cable out a couple of times, but that's my
somebody's
fault
just asked, are you still using
in.
Austrian audio X65?
Yeah, the cans certainly am. They are down here. Use them all the time. They are wonderful. Yeah, no, they're great. Like them a lot.
Somebody said, Mr. Brown is suggesting a channel meetup at Drum Sheds. He's going to bring. Never mind.
Yeah.
I think, Sean,
Yes.
as we roll towards the hour,
We are getting there.
that has brought us towards the end of another. Is it Shitstream?
And is it Shitstream? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Thank you so much to everybody for
thank you for
coming
all the
along
questions
and
and
bringing your
stuff.
questions.
Amazing.
We really enjoy the interaction, and we're very, very honoured and very, very pleased that you give us your time and attention. We're very humbled.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's fun. We'll
It
do
is
it again.
fun. We will. Every 2 weeks, we're thinking.
I think that's probably what's going to happen, yeah. Every 2 weeks on a Thursday. Kind of works. Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah.
So, let's think, what else have we got coming up? We've told you what plugin reviews we've got coming up. We've got, there's a whole bunch, I think, coming from quite a big plugin manufacturer soon. I've heard some rumours there's a lot of new plugins coming out. We don't talk about doors very much, do we?
No.
And I wonder if that's something we should look at a bit more often. Why are you putting that face? Well, just because there's so much more functionality. Logic, you know, I'm a Logic guy, so are you.
Yeah.
You know, the latest version just does so much more than it used to, and I've only just started discovering a lot of this
maybe
stuff.
we should do some of that stuff then. Yeah. I mean, what, the stem splitting and...
Yeah, all that stuff is so useful. But
It's
also I
fucking
found the
rubbish
other
on
day that you can
MP3s,
click
though.
and drag the channels around on the mixer now and put them where you want.
Okay. That was such a stupid thing, it never did.
I know, I never understood that. But
It did it in
better now.
because there was the channel strip.
Yeah.
And then there was another window that looked like the mix window.
Yeah.
The environment. Oh, I've done it again.
Oh, yeah,
I've done it again.
Dan, you're a nightmare.
Dad, just don't use your hands.
Dad, don't use your hands on anything. I think it's just time to end. Let's just call it a day while we're zoomed. Dan, you're such a wrong one. It's going to get taken off air. Anyway, thank you guys. We will see you next time. Hopefully, maybe I'll just gaffer tape his hands behind his back and everything will be fine next time. Anyway, see you soon, guys.
Adios, amigos.
Later. Where's he?